Welcome to the Gritcast, where we get into the nitty-gritty of all things hockey. From the East to the West Coast. Here are your hosts, Matt Pierce, Nikosh Ganguly, and Darius Dominguez.
The LA Kings have officially extended their biggest player, Mikey Anderson, guys. It was a massive extension. What do we think of it?
Well, he did you see the thing with Crosby last week? Did he get signed just because of that shit?
No, I didn't. What happened?
Where he was like cross-checking him and shit, and then Crosby got ejected?
Oh, we got the game of this first game of conduct, right?
Yeah. So he got the contract just based off that. So congrats to him, making his money, and he's a decent player. He's a good player for LA. So there you go.
8 years, $4.125 million per, and I think this seems like it's going to be a trend in the NHL where like they're just going to give like young-ish defensemen really long contracts for a lower AAV. You saw it with that guy in Buffalo. I think Matthias Samuelsson. Yeah. So that might be, and he's good, man. He's a solid. Having a guy that can play top 4 minutes locked up for 8 years below $5 million is always a good shout, especially if the cap might go up. We don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see. But Matt, any thoughts at all?
Ever since the playoffs, I've held a grudge against Mikey Anderson. That's all I have to say.
You guys beat them though.
Yeah, but he took out Draisaitl on his ankle.
That's
a good
point. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Without him, you guys would have won the cup. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure. But yeah. With that being said, welcome to the show, everyone. We are back. This week hasn't been that eventful. We did have. I'm sorry, my dog's going crazy right now. But we did have some players be held out for trade-related reasons. Last Saturday, Jacob Chychrun was held out. Apparently, he was traded to LA, but then we're recording this on Friday. It's almost been a week, and he actually wasn't traded to LA. Nick Kypreos tweeted that Brandt Clarke was in the trade, and then it was reported that Brandt Clarke is being told he's not going to be traded because the Kings really like him. So that was cold water.
They'd be kind of dumb to trade him too. Like, he's going to be a really good defenseman, and he's right-handed.
Yeah. So, but yeah, another point that came out of this was someone said, it was on the Sportsnet panel. They said they don't really like trade people being held out, like load management. Oh, that's just like typical hockey stuff, right? Like, oh, the players should play if they're healthy, but it's called asset protection. I don't know why that concept is so foreign in hockey. Like, if you're trying to trade a guy and you don't want him to get injured, don't play him. It doesn't matter how small of a chance it is that he'll get injured, especially with a guy like Chychrun who has been injured a lot in the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. But do you guys have a problem with players being held out for trade related reasons at all?
No, like you said, it's asset protection. The Coyotes know they can get a lot for him, and if they just put him out there in meaningless games, then there's really no use.
I think it's okay to even rest guys. Like, we got to get over this idea that these guys should play every game or whatever. Like, especially with the playoff format, we know who most teams are playing for the most part. And, like, it's okay to rest guys sometimes, too, minus the trade factor. But when trades are involved, I think it's fine because, like, what if he goes out there in a nothing game against a nothing team and they get injured, right? Then you can't trade him. And then the trade deadline is boring as shit. So, I think it's fine. I don't know what the big hoopla is about.
Yeah, no, it's because it's hockey. Like, literally just, everyone has, I don't want this league to become the NBA where players take games off. But then it's like... Counterpoint,
why not? Because the NBA is great.
And to me, it's like, well, hockey is so like, like, oh, well, this is us, we're not like these other leagues, but there's a reason why you're not like these other leagues, because no one watches. But the thing is too, like, I'd rather have like Matthews sit out a bunch of games and play every playoff game than like, oh no, he didn't play a Saturday night game against Columbus or a Friday night game against, dude, like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, even if like McDavid wanted to sit out a game against like a really shitty team, I don't know if that matters, because the NBA is far ahead of this. Like, what matters is the championship. It's the in the NBA, it's either you win the championship or you get the number one overall pick. So that's what they're doing. And for like Columbus, they want they want like a first, a third, and a fourth for Gavrikov, which, dude, I think is insane. And apparently he's not willing to talk extension with any team that signs him. And also, I don't think he's like that great. He's just like a big defenseman, which people love. So I don't know what would happen there. But where do you guys think Gavrikov would get traded to?
There's a sinking feeling in me that, like, I feel like there's some bummer team like the Wings that are going to overpay for him, because that seems to be Stevie Y's thing now. Steve Yzerman, as a GM, I'm going to say it, he's a fraud.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be the Wings.
Is he mid? The question must be asked, because with Stevie Y, he signed Olimana to a 2-year, $3 million per extension, I think yesterday. And then he gave Ben Sherratt like a 4x4. He gave Alex Nedeljkovic like $2 million. I mean, kind of understandable, but then the guy was on waivers this year. Jakub Veranda, unforeseen circumstances, also on waivers. So we put $7 million worth of cap on waivers this year. And yeah, just, Stevie Y hasn't really made too much of a difference. And like that Larkin extension still hasn't happened yet. So we'll see what happens. But the jury isn't out yet.
So Detroit's like definitely not making the playoffs. So
they're close though.
I know, but I think like, I don't know, some of the teams that are in or Buffalo will make it, but yeah, like I think they'll still be on the outside looking in. But could Larkin be like I don't know if people are talking enough about Larkin being traded. Like they might do a whole reset in Detroit in terms of like recouping assets and going with, because like Larkin's already like 26 or something like that. So
sorry, before we go on, I'm just gonna update you guys on the wild card. Detroit is 2 points out of the second wild card spot, with 3 games in hand on Washington. So
that's pretty good.
Buffalo must be in there too, though, right?
Buffalo's 2 points behind. Buffalo's got 58,
so
Detroit's got 60, and then Washington has 62.
But games in hand, so that makes sense. I don't know, that could be interesting.
It could be as it gets into April.
But look at Tavares, the Tavares thing too, right? He was like, yeah, I'll resign for sure, and then like he didn't. And they went into the playoffs, whatever. So it could be the same thing with Detroit. Like, should they look at trading Larkin too? Could he be a?
Well, it depends. It depends, like what kind of money he wants. He's a first-line center, right? And I know he's not like wild with point production, but he's a really good player. But Stevie Y does have a tendency to make like wild trades, like that Anthony Mantha trade caught everyone by surprise when he did it a couple of years back. So I wouldn't be surprised if like a team was like, okay, well, all these other guys are gone. Like Ryan O'Reilly's gone, Timo Meyer's gone, all these other forwards are gone, and let's swing for a guy who's young and really good with Larkin. So I could see that happening. I don't know if it will, just because he's their captain and he's a guy you probably want to bring back. It's not like they're hurting for cap space, so that's probably a guy you'd want to bring back. But just wrapping up, I don't have any problem with load management, although I do understand the whole like fans don't get to see their favorite players. Like there was a clip of like like this guy's like talking to like yelling at LeBron because he's not playing. He's like, LeBron, I paid $200 to see you. You ain't even playing, man. it's like I get that, but at the same time, the teams want to win championships, and winning is all that really matters. But with that being said, we are gonna move on to the bulk of the episode. Darius has been itching to talk about this. You can tell by his background. We've all kind of been itching to talk about it. I mean, I'm going to let these guys kind of hold their conversation just because I'm a little under the weather today. So, I can't talk as much as I usually do. But NHL 23, we have been playing it for a long time. Our credentials, just so you guys know, we're not talking out of our ass. We are a Division 1 team. We win a decent amount of games. We're pretty good. Like, I will always
disclaimer, though, we do have lives. So, just for those wondering.
That, but also at the same time, we are good at the game, because a lot of people are like, you don't like the game because you're bad, and that's not true. So that's
if you want to know how good we are, there's clips on TikTok and Twitter of like some plays.
Not even that, like the record speaks for itself too.
Yeah.
So
and then also we are gonna start. We don't like the game, but it's the only NHL game that exists. So people are always like, oh, why do you play it? I'm like, dude, I love hockey, and it's what else am I gonna play? So that's really the main reason why EA has got us there with their monopoly of the NHL game. But with that being said, Darius, take the floor for a little bit. We're gonna be focusing on World of Trout for the most part, just because HUT is a cesspool and I never touch it. GM mode offline games I don't really get too mad about because it's like whatever, it's an offline game. and ESHL is where we spend the bulk of our time. So, Darius, what do you want to discuss first?
I think like overall, like it hasn't changed since like 19. Like I don't think they've really changed anything since 19 in terms of maybe some different like abilities and stuff, or the perks or whatever the frig they call it. But it's basically the same game for the last 4 editions. They make some stupid ass changes, like the playoff format before, and I know Matt's gonna get into it too, but the playoff format before was like the closest thing to real playoffs as you can get with that game mode, because obviously you can't schedule times to play with different teams and shit. So it was the closest thing you got to like an actual playoff, series win, and then you win the championship after 4 wins. That was cool. This new thing is like literally whoever stays home from school the most wins the championship this month. Like you have to play the most amount of games, and I have a life. There's no reward for me personally, or most people playing this game, to play the playoffs, and they stick you outside. So you work all this time to unlock all this shit in your arena, and then you don't get to see it in the playoffs, which makes no sense. Like it's actually probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a video game. Like that switch, like honest to God, like it has to be, because it literally, there is zero logic to it. And I know Matt wanted to, Matt, I'll give you the floor too. I know you want to talk about the playoff format too, but there is so much, and we're going to continue to get into it. There's so much with this game that literally, like, there's no way that they look online to see what people are saying about the game. There's zero chance. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, like the playoff format, it's ridiculous. You spend 2 weeks outside. Like you said, whoever plays the most wins. And even if you play a few games, you get like a banner to go, congrats, you were in like the 75th percentile. Like, you don't want to celebrate that. That's so stupid.
No. Trash.
That is ridiculous. Like, you want to see, like the virtual crowd wave the towels, kill a penalty, wave the towels, score a goal, wave the towels, Zamboni, wave the towels. But it's just so, it's so dry.
They've tried so hard to make this game Fortnite. Like, you get all... Sorry?
I disagree with that.
Okay, go ahead. Why?
I disagree with that.
Yeah, I was curious on this comparison. Continue.
Number one, Fortnite is built on battle pass and cosmetics and paying for that stuff. They don't have any of that. Number 2 was like
HUD.
HUD isn't like, there's no like
not
battle
this game
pass.
mode. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
No, but like Fortnite is built on like their battle pass essentially,
okay,
and their collaborations and cosmetics. So I don't really see any correlation there. Not to call you dumb or anything, or you're dumb. I think no, I'm playing. I just think what this game is, they had a really good system. When I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I didn't play ESHL until the new generation, which is now the old generation, the PS4, which is crazy to say. But like I picked it up in I think, when did it come back? 17? Because it was not in 15 or 16.
Yeah.
No, it was in 16.
It was in 16, but you couldn't customize anything. You could literally just get into a game with your friends.
Oh, it's like you're like the 2-way dangler, or like the jumbo playmaker.
Yeah, we were like,
those builds?
No, they didn't even have that. It was just like playmaker, sniper, power forward, and then like it was like 3 literally, and then it was 2-way defenseman, defensive defenseman, offensive defenseman.
Okay,
but you couldn't customize anything. You were literally like the Calgary Hitmen versus like whatever NHL team. Like,
it was just stock.
Everything was stock. It was trash.
Okay, so I picked it up I think in 17 then, and I started playing with you guys in 19. So that's that. And my biggest problem is the random unlockables. It's so annoying, and like my main problem is with this game. A lot of people will say this is inherently the fundamentals not the worst thing ever. Like every game is gonna have meta builds and like exploiting and stuff. You almost can't avoid that. The issue is with EA or EA Sports in the NHL realm is they don't fix it. Number one, like most of the time, if like in Call of Duty, for example, if a gun is way too OP, they'll nerf it, right? That's just, it makes sense. Yeah. But in hockey, if like for day one of the game, people are like, oh, if you put truculence and unstoppable force on your build, no one can touch you. And it's the same. And the game came out November, early November,
yeah.
And it's middle of February now. And then hockey bags is one of the worst unlockable systems I've ever seen in a video game. Like, what other game was like random? Just random. It's dude. You could be like prestige like 4 and not have a celebration you want.
But they
'cause
do
you
it
just
so
haven't
you
unlocked
can.
it.
They do it so you continue to play. So then you in hopes that you eventually unlock it. But like for example, last year, I wanted like these goalie pads. Never got it. The year came and went. The new game comes out. That's all. Like, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's awful. And like, um, it's the gameplay is also not, honestly, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I feel like when
this year's much
the
worse than before. I
the
think.
NHL games are so funny because it's like, even when you're winning, you notice the stupid stuff of the game. Like we'll be up like 6-0 on a team and be like, dude, this game is awful. Like, it doesn't matter if you're winning or not. Because like, and another thing is their player base is so small where like sometimes I feel like we're a D1 team getting mashed up against teams that are obviously like Division 9 or like 8 or 9. And it's like first of all, this isn't like winning is cool, but it's not always fun to win like 7-0. And I bet it's not fun for like other teams to get killed. Like, why would you want to keep playing a game where you keep losing? And there's no opportunity for you to get better because the team above you was just, they're so much better, than more experienced. And then the AI is also like, dude, like computer defensemen and computer goalies. Matt, why don't you talk about the computer defensemen and computer goalies? I feel like you have a lot to say on these guys.
The computer defenseman is like easily the worst AI I've ever experienced. Like all you got to do is just like hit the speed boost and you can skate around them. It's so stupid. Like the defensive skill stick, the AI doesn't utilize it whatsoever. Like
Not only
even
that.
like okay poke checks, but like they don't like lay down to block a shot with their
Yeah,
stick.
but like
It's
weirdly,
so cut and dry.
weirdly, they cut off every single cross you pass.
Yeah.
Like you can't get it through, which is crazy. But
And also,
yeah,
when you have a computer defenseman, they'll play wing. They won't play their position, right? If you're playing 3-on-3, let's say, the AI is so I don't know what is. It's been like this for what, 3 years? Like I think like NHL 20, like the COVID year, whatever NHL was out during that, like it hasn't changed. The AI has not changed, and every year they say new AI, but for some reason my computer defenseman plays left wing. Like it doesn't make sense. He's always up there.
They don't. They also like don't adjust like positions. Like if I'm covering the point, all of a sudden they're covering the point, and it's like, what are you doing? And like the goalies this year, I've noticed, especially, it's unplayable when you have a computer goalie. Like you can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's awful. And I do want to kind of point out the positives of this game, but it's like there's not like some of the arena stuff they did is cool, but it's so like beginner, like surface level stuff. Like I remember when there was a game where like we were down like 4-0, you come back, you score like you score the hat trick and all the smoke and all the lights come out and like the hats are raining down. Like that's cool. That gets you in the atmosphere. But I wish they would just do more with it. They're so like, oh, we put this in, like look at us, and then they move on to the next game. Like this game feels like from EA, it was just like, all right, here you guys go, like figure out the issues, and then we'll fix it for the next game.
I think to add on to your point there, and something I wanted to bring up is like from NHL. So I started playing EA Sports Hockey League in maybe like NHL 10 or 11. And from that point, it was still kind of bare bones because it only started in 09. It was very like simple, like a very simple game mode. And then they built it to the point in like 13, 14 where you had all this customizable shit. You couldn't really do stuff with arenas yet because like the technology wasn't there on PS3. But you have all this customizable shit, and it was a fun game mode. Like it was fun. Like, okay, we have a base here. They took it to the next gen, PS4 and Xbox One, I think. So
yeah,
they took it to that. And they were like, hey, we deleted all the source codes or some shit because everything's gone. And there's no EA Sports Hockey League in 15. And then they bring it back like bare bones. Then they spend like the next 2 iterations with everything back in it and building up to where they were. And then since 19, they haven't done shit with it, right? So it was literally like they built this game mode and we're like, oh, this is very exciting to see where this goes. They bring it to next gen. They're like, shit, this is ass. They rebuild everything they just did since 09. And then it's been the same for the last 4 game generations. They haven't changed anything except for this year with the on-ice projections and the anthem, which, by the way, 0 people asked for. Exactly 0% of people asked for. And you see like maybe 10% of the time. Cool.
They also gave it a dumb nickname too, Ishal. That's still the stupidest thing ever.
Dude, by far, when all the trailers were coming out, the thing that fired me up the most, 100%, because I'm like, you just made that up now. Nobody's ever called it that, and you made that up now because you want people to call it that. Brutal.
I love playing like hockey games, just because like it's like I'm never gonna be good at real hockey as I am on, this virtual hockey game. So it's a lot of fun. But I just think their quality of life is the worst in any game I've ever played. Like in any game, like in practice mode, you can just shoot on the goal. You can't scrimmage against your own team. You can't have more than one. You can't have more than one puck. You can't set up drills. You can't set up plays. You can't do any of that. They added this. They added this. Like you can edit the face-off formation and like edit these like plays and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Like it literally doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't make a difference.
You can't see it on the ice. Like you cannot communicate these things online with people. Maybe in real life at a real practice you could, like on a whiteboard, right? But you cannot communicate these things on, like, they need to show up on the ice, and they used to have that, Matt. Like I swear, when we started playing esports hockey league, they had the strategies would show up.
Like
right?
the arrows would show up, and you'd be like, okay, you're skating here, and everyone's skating here, and then you do like, and then it's it's another thing is like the meta builds are just like crazy, because the problem is why they used to do this with I forgot what the trait. There was this one trait called like, it wasn't Cardio Master, but it was like the other iteration of it that was just like so OP that they literally got rid of it because it was so good. Everyone was using it. But in this game, if you run like the go-to traits, if you have Unstoppable Force, Truculence, or Elite Edges, those are the three. Like those are three everyone uses. But I wish they were like more leveled out to the point where like you could, like, every trait is somewhat useful. Of course, like if you're using the lacrosse trait, it's just not, doesn't really make sense unless you're just like, playing against a bad team, just trying to go for clips. But it seems like either so many traits do similar things, or it's like I look at it and I'm like, why the fuck would I use this?
Yeah.
Like that's another problem with the game. They need to fix the class of it. And I don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't entirely agree with them going to the 2K model, where it's like, oh, build up to 99 overall, because then like if I were to buy 2K today, it's not worth it. Like, what am I gonna do as like a 70 overall?
Yeah.
So in that way, they can inject new players and have them be like playable immediately. But I think you need to find like a mitigation role where you can like maybe like upgrade your traits individually to like a certain level, or something like that. Because I think if I'm a 99 overall playing against a 70 overall, obviously the other guy's not gonna have any fun. But I think there needs to be a reward for me playing so much, other than me getting the Arizona Coyotes away sweaty.
Yes, exactly. And I think the kind of setup they have right now is right in a way where it's like you said, like the 2K model is like, if I was to buy the game right now, like there's no chance. There's zero chance for me. But in this, they got to make it. Like, when was the last time you saw somebody play Playmaker? Like 4 years ago?
Matt plays Playmaker.
I have a Playmaker.
Anyway. Wow. No, but like, you know what I mean, right? Like majority of people use like Dangler, power forward, maybe sniper.
Dangler, power forward, puck moving defenseman.
I think
exactly. Yeah. So
I just want to. I don't know what like the least used build is.
Grinder now,
like
probably.
Enforcer.
Defensive defenseman. Who uses defensive defenseman?
I have a defensive defenseman. I don't use an offensive defenseman. That's probably the least used build.
Oh, that no one used. No, if you're gonna be offensive, you may as well use puck moving at that point.
Yeah.
Bro, people use puck moving defenseman on center. Like that's how OP it is.
Yeah.
Like it's actually insane. And I get the meta builds of the exploits, but it's like, dude, like come on. It's like sometimes like just stuff happens that don't make sense. And I think the worst thing they did this year was like nerfing poke checking. Sure, that makes sense. But why am I like 7 strides behind the guy when I press it once? That doesn't work.
Okay, last year they're like, it's too easy to poke check, right? So instead of correcting that, which you can do, it's literally a slider. They made it worse. They made a new issue. This is the thing with EA. Like year after year, they're like, there's an issue. Okay, let's make it worse. And then okay, we'll go back and fix it and then sell this for $70, $80. Like, it's what they do.
These suckers are gonna buy it because they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah,
like nowhere else to go.
It's so bad. And like the thing, and I talk about this with like other friends and stuff too, where I thought we would be right now with video games is not at all where we are. This is sad. Like I was like, wow, imagine with the technology on PS4, like what they're gonna be able to do, right? And like they're literally shitting on our lunch like every year on PS5 too. Like a whole gen later, they're still shitting on our cereal. Like,
and that's not even. We haven't even mentioned the fucking terrible crossplay they did. Like when they were introducing crossplay, remember they had Phase Zero, which is just like what the game was.
Phase Zero.
And then, bro, they put out an Instagram post that said, in mid-March, you'll be able to play HUT with your friends on Xbox. What a joke!
Do you know what I'm doing in mid-March?
No,
I'm outside.
Game.
I'm
no one's
outside.
playing the game in mid-March, man.
Like,
oh my god.
That's like them going like, "Hey, in July we're adding new perks." No, the new one comes out, and it shouldn't come out in like 2 months from now. Like it doesn't. Go to the USC model and release it every other or 3 years, and actually make upgrades. Cause this year, this is why I made the video too. That has over 120,000 views, by the way.
You can check it out on the channel.
That's right. You can check it out on the same channel you're watching this. That's why I made the video, and so many people agree. This year is like the least change from between iterations I've ever seen. Ever. Like, and I've had every one since like 02.
Well, their big thing was crossplay, and it wasn't even crossplay. And like, it's bad. There's been some times where like we have to turn off crossplay because we couldn't play a game. So the input delay wasn't that bad. And sometimes you have to turn on crossplay because you can't find a game, but then you're playing like some bozos who are like it's just bad. Like crossplay they took all this time to integrate it in phases, and it's still bad. I don't understand how they do that. It's crazy. And I know there's people who are like, oh, you know, like there's always the EA defenders for some reason. I don't know why, but like the game inherently is bad. Another thing is this one is my smallest pet peeve. Like, why do you have like 40 million custom celebrations, and I can equip one? That doesn't make any sense.
Let me button map. Why do I have to use the Heartbreaker celebrations? Yeah, like.
It'd be so easy, like, oh, what celebration? I want this one to be L2. I want this one to be R2. I want this one to be triangle.
Not easy. It's not
nope, easy. Nope, triangle. You get one option.
One triangle. Yep. Yeah, that's dumb. Thank you. I didn't even think about that. Thanks for bringing that up, too. So stupid.
How much time do I hear, folks? Yeah. Like, I could go on for hours.
Yeah. And then, another thing is, the whole, dude, we're like a Div 1, like Prestige 2 club, and we're still playing in a semi-pro arena. Like, how do we not have a pro stadium yet? Like, what are we waiting for?
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
And
now we know how the Coyotes feel.
Yeah, I just think and looking to next year, like, there's no like optimism, because there was a thing where like they basically dropped this game, right? And people were like commenting about like problems and stuff, and then like literally like second month into the game, like, oh, we'll look to fix this next year. Like, dude, the game just came out.
Yeah, like that's crazy, man. They must have fired everybody. Like, everyone must have got laid off there. I actually heard something. I don't know how true it is, but before the game came out, that they actually laid off the guy who made the source code for the replays, and that's why this year it's all glitchy, because they had to build a new source code.
There's like no replays.
Exactly. So I heard that's the rumor. Old games, I don't know.
In the old games, they would like replay like saves or like full passes and stuff. But now it's like you get a replay after like a goal or an injury. That's it. Or like the intermission big save. So I don't know why they can't show some between whistles.
Yeah, like it's the big save, like play of the period, and it's not even a big save. It's like a goal. It's like you couldn't even get that correct.
It's like a floater. It's like a floater from the point, and the goalie like just like grabs it, and it's just slow motion.
Save of the period.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so I don't really get why. The game was just terrible, and like I like.
Sorry, go ahead. I was trying.
No, I was saying like I like playing it, but then I also hate playing it. Like there's literally some nights. This game does it for me all the time. There's some nights where, you know, I've had a long day at school. I just got home and I'm like, you know what, man? I'm gonna play some NHL because I just want to chill. And then my night gets worse. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like I'm trying everything I can. I poked this guy 4 times and he got it back every time and scored anyway. I'm like, what is going on? But Darius, what were you gonna say?
To go back to something you said before, the EA defenders, because there's a lot of them actually in the comment section of the video I made, and I see it everywhere on Reddit. Oh, how much do you expect them to change year to year? Oh, it's just a video game. Blah, blah, blah. They are stealing $80 from you every year. They are stealing money from you. They are going into your bedroom at night, opening your wallet, taking $80, and then you give them a kiss on the cheek on their way out.
They're the reverse tooth fairy.
They're the worst. They're the reverse tooth fairy, bro. Like
reverse Santa. They walk in your house and take stuff.
Once a year. They do it once a year. It's exactly Santa.
I always knew Santa pocket watched.
But it's another thing is like people to me it's not changing the game. Hockey, you can't remake hockey. It's hockey, right? Every game, every year, hockey is the same. But my thing is the quality of life stuff never changes in the game. Like I'm not asking them to reinvent the sport. You can't do that. Like it is what it is. But like fix the little like fix like how many menus I need to go through to get into a lobby. Fix how like when I exit a dressing room, I don't get taken to the main menu. Like I should go back to the dressing room. Fix how like when I press ready up, the game doesn't break. Like just fix all that stuff,
Exactly.
and then the game is great. The game is great. That's all we have to do. And fix the looting system. What the fuck? But like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's I don't know what else to say.
Fix the sweaty meta builds too. Those are awful.
Yeah. Every year there's one build that just like ruins everyone's day.
It's like when you when you see them in the room and you're like, dude, like there's been sometimes where like we'll leave lobbies not because like we don't feel like playing that. It's just like why would I put myself through this? Like it's gonna be me. It's gonna be me in the defensive zone the entire game, standing in one spot with holding the defensive skill stick. That's gonna be the whole game because the guy's gonna like try and like ballerina L2 backward skate and do a bunch of dumb shit. I'm like, so I'm gonna get like 7 shots on net the whole game and maybe win like 3-2.
The thing too, like you mentioned the L2 ballerina shit. Have you ever watched like what EA posts? What are the plays of the month? Have you watched the list?
Each other every week, every month. It's so funny.
Every month you post the top 5 of people exploiting your game. Congrats! Like you stole all of our money and then you posted people exploiting your game. Fantastic.
And it's like, wow, look what this guy did.
I think one of the highlight reel goals is like Kale McCarr ballerina L2ing and then he does like the wraparound glitch. You're promoting this. You're promoting this.
And
Come on,
EA's like, that was sick. See what he's doing? That's awesome. Everyone do that too. Like, so bad. So bad.
And I hate being. I feel like I'm just always negative about like everything NHL, but like they never do anything right. Like the league doesn't do anything right. The game never does anything right. And, like I try to be an optimist just because it's my favorite sport. Like it's the first sport. Like everyone has their first sport they grew up watching, and then like they start to watch other ones, of course. And like hockey was the first sport. And then I'm like, you grow up and you're like, this sport is awesome, but the league is mid. The video game is mid. Everything is mid. So it's just like, I don't know. And this isn't even to talk about Hut, dude. Like, Hut is like the worst. Like, I think if I played Hut, I wouldn't buy the game anymore. Because it's like, dude, like, why would I? Oh my god, okay. It's like, why would you put yourself through that?
The first week the game came out, we will redact the YouTuber's name, said, hey, I just spent $600 on packs. It was like the first day the game came out. And I'm like, do you guys see the problem? Because I do. I can see it right here.
You're gonna buy the game next year, and all that money's gone.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's a virtual card that you may or may not get, and you're literally like going to a big AAA company who made a dog shit game. They just shit all over your carpet, and you go, here is $80 plus all my other hard-earned money. Put that towards car payments.
Or get real hockey cards. They might actually go up in value. You know what I mean?
Or that, yeah, exactly.
That's like the worst casino buying Hut packs. Because you're not going to win.
Don't get shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like they obviously send all these YouTubers like juice packs, and they're like, oh, if you buy this, like, oh, you'll get this, this, and this. And it's like, man, shut the fuck up.
Can I say something? This might be controversial, actually. But like, it's just how I feel. So I'm going to say it. If you play Hut, you're brainwashed.
Yeah, Brad.
What a way to trash on last week's guest.
No, but like, think about it though. Think about it. What do you get out of the game mode, really? Besides what you put in, like, you're putting on all this money and all this time, you don't get anything out. It doesn't transfer. Nobody got those packs at the beginning of the year. Remember the loyalty packs that you're supposed to get
for the returning user bonus.
Yeah. Nobody got them. Hey, we're shitting your breakfast every year, and it's getting worse.
And the game was just like, there's so many times when I'm sitting there, like I say this to everyone, it's like I'm sitting there and I don't understand what just happened. Like I don't know what happened. I don't know, like we'll be up like 3-0, and all of a sudden like one guy won the face off. I poked the guy 3 times. Matt's playing defense and he poked the guy 3 times. All of a sudden he skates by us, shoots it from behind the net, it goes off the goalie's back into the net. I'm like, dude, like what is going on? Like what is like I
That's
I also
hockey.
I'm also like I feel like we're also a little self-aware to the point where like we know where we're getting the benefit of the game as well. Where it's like dude, like that shouldn't have worked out in our favor. But like the game is so bad, we're like all of a sudden it just works. And it's not, and I at least the game isn't like completely left up to like the game. Like it's still a lot of like skill involved. But to me, I think when they introduce all this content and barely any of it is usable, like what's the point? Like just get
Okay.
like why have all these traits and builds and like all this stuff and all these stats if like everyone's gonna do the same thing? So that doesn't that's not that important to me. But Matt, any closing remarks here before we wrap up?
No, I think we summed it up pretty well for the amount of time that we had set aside for it. Because again, we could go on this for hours, but uh, yeah, no, the game just fix the mechanics. Like it has room to improve, but it won't. So
But I think they can do more on that point. They can do more in terms of like game modes and stuff too, because we haven't realized, and kids growing up with these games compared to what we played, you don't really realize how much they've taken out of the games over the years. So they can do a lot more. It's not.
No, but don't worry, they'll put it back next year and introduce it as new. So
Yeah, exactly.
with that being said, we are gonna say thank you guys so much for watching so far. Click like if you liked the podcast. Hit that bell, do all that fun stuff. 5 stars on all the audio platforms that we post on. Follow us on Twitter. And the rap question today is, I talked about this with Matt earlier, but I wanted to ask you guys, what is your biggest like not inherently like within sports? What is your biggest like sports like media pet peeves? Or like the minutia around sports pet peeves, not the sport itself. Like, what's your biggest like minutia pet peeve around the sport?
I'll let Darius take the floor on this one.
I don't know if this counts, but it's something I've actually like been thinking about recently, and it was like I felt it hard last year. Is the like in hockey, the playoffs. The first round is like electric. There's games all the time. You can watch it till like 1 a.m. or whatever if you're in the Eastern time zone, and it's great, right? And then you get to the like second round and the third and the fourth round, and it's like nobody cares. It's like literally like the league itself does not promote it. It's like, oh yeah, well, the rest of the teams
That's
are
what
still
they
here.
do that on purpose though. The way their playoff format is set up, all the good teams play each other in the first round. So you get to the second round and it's like Dallas. No offense, Dallas, but it's like
True.
or Calgary. Like no offense to those teams, but it's like, come on. I think we did get kind of lucky last year because it was Colorado, Edmonton, and then Tampa Bay and who was it?
New
I can't
York.
remember. New York, the
New York,
Rangers.
yeah,
Yeah, like
the
those
Rangers.
those are four premier NHL teams. But it's like sometimes
No, but even
Darius-
then in the second round last year was like Tampa and Florida scored 3 goals in 4 games. Like
yeah, no, I agree with you. But the NHL doesn't even like hang their hat on the rest. They literally hang their hat on the first round because the first round of every NHL playoffs. You're right. It's fucking epic. I'm watching every game of every series because it's just so fun.
yeah,
Because like and then you're looking for the upsets and all that stuff, but it's like in the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, it's like we're just trying to get to the championship here. Like nothing else is as important.
if you're looking
But
at
in
the
the NHL,
NBA
it's like
and the Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl for example, everyone gets up for the final game. In the NHL, it's not that. Or the final series, right? It's not that. It's the first round and then bust, and nobody gives a shit the rest of the way.
the NHL has a problem where if it's not your team, you just want the season to end. Whereas like I feel like in the NBA and the NFL, like even if your team isn't in the finals of the playoffs or the later rounds, it's still like a spectacle to watch
Yeah.
because they just market it differently. Because the NHL is always like the underdog, small town local story. Where the NBA, it's like fuck you guys, like LeBron is playing. We're not going to market the other guys on the team. LeBron's
Yeah.
playing. You know what I mean? So that makes sense, Jarius. Matt, what would you say?
My biggest pet peeve, like with sports media, is like all like the closed-ended questions, like between the intermission. It's like, oh,
Oh
Mark,
my god!
Mark,
Oh
what
my
did you
God.
what did you think you did well that period? Oh, and it's the same cliche answer every single time. It's like, oh yeah, no, we fought well in the corners. You got pucks on that. It's like it's the same answer every single time, and it's the same questions every single time. So every time the player gets interviewed, you can just skip it because you know what's gonna happen. Like devote that time to something else. Like
Like-
devote that time to like breaking down the game stats wise, like analytics wise, instead of
And
asking the player some stupid question.
that's so interesting you say that because it's like when you're getting Connor McDavid for an interview, you should like ask him a question that because sometimes like I get when analysts break down the game, like they do it from their own perspective, but I also like I hate always bringing up the NBA, but they're like the pinnacle of this. When they like ask players like questions and then they break it down from like their perspective. You know, like when I hear like Chris Paul talk about the NBA and like playing, I'm like, okay, wow, like I don't understand. But in hockey, it's like, you know, they talk to us like we're stupid, like we've never like watched people play hockey. It's like Connor McDavid, dude. I know you're trying to get pucks deep, bro. But like, what are you seeing? Ask Connor McDavid. Like, what are you seeing? Ask Connor McDavid. You could ask him that Rangers goal. Remember that Rangers goal where he like geeked out four defensemen?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to ask him about that, you'd probably like, oh, I just saw an opening and I took it. Like no. What did you actually see?
There was one. Well, on that goal specifically, I feel like that is literally what he saw. He was just like, I guess. But there was one Connor McDavid interview I remember seeing where he was like trying to describe something. And then he was like, he stopped himself and he's like, wait a minute, you guys wouldn't understand that. And then he gave like a generic ass answer. And I was like, no, continue. Say what you're going to say. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to understand it? I want to.
Or it's the worst too whenever like a player gets like their first NHL goal. It's like, oh, you scored your first career goal. How does it feel? How do you think how it
feels? Shit. It feels shit. It's the worst feeling ever.
I wish I didn't score.
Yeah, like a perfect example of this I wanted to bring up. It's great that you brought that up, Matt. Like recently I did a shoot and it involved hockey players and it was for like this event. So we did a couple interviews with like a couple hockey players and then like regular people who took part in the event. And we asked them like the same type of questions. And like the regular people took like 3-4 minutes to answer. The hockey players, 50 seconds. Because they just have like these generic ass answers and they're just like, yeah, it was great, man, and then bye.
Well, it's not even like the answers to, it's just the questions. Like these closed-ended questions, you don't get anywhere with them.
No.
Yeah, and
what'd you see out there?
You see the same stuff. You see the same stuff in the well, the American broadcasts do it better because they're American and like you know they're just better at broadcasting than Canada is. But it's in the intermissions too. Like they ask the same kind of questions. Like I understand that like the former players on the broadcast were like, okay, like you got to look at this. But like Kelly Rudy can always offer a goalie's perspective. But I wish they would ask more like in-depth questions. And I also wish like the people on the panel are so afraid to have like difference in opinions. Like they'll be like, yeah, I agree with this, but like you could also, it's like, man, argue with each other a little bit, bro. Like have a debate or something. Like in the NBA, like I've seen like you know they get like it gets a little heated, and like the NHL also doesn't have like a talk show like the NBA does or like the NFL does with like Skip and Shannon or like Stephen A. Smith. Like they don't have anybody at that level, but they could develop something like that. Yeah. But the problem is hockey is so like, oh, I don't want to criticize the players because like if I say anything wrong, like I'll get blacklisted. Where it's like this guy Shaq doesn't know any of the players' names, and he's still like one of the main broadcasters.
I have to apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game.
Yeah, it's insane. But my biggest pet peeve, I went on a rant with this with Matt earlier, on Twitter. When a big trade happens and people are like, oh, can you convert this to NHL terms for me? Like when Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook got traded, or even when Kyrie got traded, they're like, oh, make it in NHL terms, bro. Man, shut the fuck up, bro. Like I actually hate that shit so much. It's like if you actually care about the trade, you'll go read an article. If you read one article about it, you'll understand why the trade is so important or what it does for either team, right? But if you're just a casual fan being like, oh, someone make this NHL terms, you'll be like, oh, okay, and then you keep scrolling. Like it doesn't fucking matter to you. It doesn't matter. Like that's one. I get it if you're like trying to get into the sport, but if you're trying to get into the sport, like read about it. You know, don't go on Twitter and ask some random guy named like Brian541792 who's trying to tell me that D'Angelo Russell was the equivalent player of William Nylander and Russell Westbrook is the equivalent player of Jonathan Toews. No, man. It's almost like impossible to make these comparisons because the sport is completely different. So if you want to learn about how important a trade is, I just recommend you read about the trade itself in the terms of the sport that the trade was made. Because then you'll learn about, if you want, because you know sports, you know how important players are. If someone described D'Angelo Russell as like an important player and like why he's important, you'll understand why the trade was important. You don't have to like, someone doesn't have to be like, oh, he's like if William Nylander was traded. No, bro, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. So there's this guy on Twitter who does it every time. I'm like, bro, like, so not, like at some point, I just think you're stupid, bro. Like, just read an article. You have to read one article to understand the trade. That's it. That's literally all you have to do. I don't know what you guys think of that, but yeah.
I mean,
yeah, no, I think you summed it up. I think you summed it up pretty nicely. We were talking about that before we recorded. But it's like, yeah, like if you don't care enough to read about the actual trade itself, why should I tell you what I think? Or why should I tell you the answer? Because you're not gonna process that. You're just gonna go, oh, okay, thank you, and then continue on with your day.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. There is no way to convert players to players or trades to trades. And first of all, the NHL has a hard cap, and the NBA doesn't have a hard cap. How can you compare trades like at all, right? So whenever I ask someone to break down trades for me in another league, I ask them to describe me what kind of what echelon or tier of player they are in their league. Like, oh, this guy's a superstar. This guy's like a decent, like he's a utility player. That explains the trade better for me than someone being like, oh, trading Kyrie is like if the Vancouver Canucks traded Elias Pettersson because he was mad or something. I'm like, what the fuck? You just made up a situation. You made that up. So I think if you want to know about other sports trades, there are a ton of really good authors and content creators that can tell you about the trade if you're a casual fan of the sport. It's not hard to do. You're just lazy. Stop asking people to convert trades into another sport because you don't want to learn about the other sport.
No, it's hard. No.
That requires reading. I don't like doing that.
Like in the NFL, I'm not a massive NFL fan. I don't know any of the big trades. But what I do is when a big trade happens, I text my friend and I'm like, yo, how important is this and how does it impact each team? I don't go to him and be like, yo, bro, can you break this down to me in NHL terms? That doesn't fucking help me. That doesn't help me with anything. That doesn't the worst thing is there's so much more in a trade than just like the assets being moved. There's team situations, there's stories, there's headlines, there's contracts. You can't just like, oh, this player is this player, this player is this player, and they just swap for each other. It's not the same thing. And there's different caps, there's different contracts, there's different money. I hate it so much. It's, if you guys can't tell, I just like I'm like
passion.
Like when I first used to, I used to like I'm a victim of this. I used to decide like, oh, can you break it down and can you break down this NFL trade and NHL terms? But I'm like, bro, that's fucking stupid. Let me just read a singular paragraph on the trade, and I will understand why it's important for the player, the teams, and everyone else involved. So that's my piece. I'm sorry. Oh my god. But yeah, that's my
You're
piece.
passionate.
That's passion, bro.
It. Yeah.
I just can't believe, like, come on, bro. There's free articles to read for this stuff. You know, it's not hard. But fellas, with that being said, we are gonna wrap up the show here. Thank you to my co-host for joining me today. Matt, as I say every week, pays for the premium Zoom account. Darius produces the show. Me, I host the show. And you know, we all play our part here. And as I always say, if you're watching this in the day, enjoy the day. If you're watching this at night, have a great night. And if you're driving while listening to this, always drive safe. No matter what the roads are, check your blind spots. Use your turn signals. You know, people are forgetting to use those nowadays. So
they come with the cars, by the way. I don't know if people know that.
It's the thing on the left.
Yeah. They actually come built in.
Like you can flick it up and down, and then like you can tell people where you're going.
Yeah. It's great.
And also, make sure to turn your signal like well before you brake to make the turn. So like I'm not like trying to like dart, dude. Okay, this is a sidebar, but I was driving. There was no right turn lane, right, and it was a green light. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna floor it because the guy in front of me is clearly not turning. Dude, he tries to make a right turn. I have to fucking stomp on the brakes because I didn't know he was gonna turn. I didn't know he was
People
gonna
just
turn.
be deciding shit, you know, like they're just like nah, like stupid.
I'm gonna make
Like-
my own roads.
Yeah.
It's like just turn your signal on, man. It's not hard. Your hand is already all right.
Dude,
but
hold on. The new cars, like 2021-ish, like to now 2023 makes, so you cannot change lanes unless you signal. It'll throw you back into the lane. I'm like, hey, how about instead of adding this into cars, use your signal? How about that?
I also don't like that because what if you're like, what if you're about to get in a crash?
That's what I'm saying.
And you need to like swerve out the lane, and then the car's like, nah, you're dying.
No.
Like, nah.
I'll
that's
let the
on
car
you.
decide my fate
rules.
then.
Follow the rules.
Yeah.
That's
no.
on you. But fellas, with that being said, thank you all once again, and we'll see you guys all next week. Yeah, have a great one.
For more content, visit our YouTube channel and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow the guys on social media at Matt_Mondays, at Nick LaFlame, and at Darius Dominguez.